biology, and welcome to one of your last videos of the week, or the year actually. We're going to be talking about different types of dominance in alleles. So we should know that the genotype is the genetic makeup of an individual. Those are the two alleles that you get from mom and dad, and that codes for your phenotype, which is your physical characteristics. So think the recipe in the cookbook as genotype, and the meals that you make as your phenotype, the instructions, and the physical product. Genes are usually dominant or silent. Dominant genes are always visible and predominant, and we see it, while silent genes are often not expressed, masked, or modified by the first allele. So for example, one allele is expressed, green eyes, while a different allele is masked or outcompeted, blue eyes. So if you get a green allele from your mom and a blue allele from your dad, you're going to have green eyes. Heterozygous individuals have two different alleles, so they are big A, little a. They have a dominant and a recessive allele. Homozygous individuals are either big A, or little a, little a. They have two copies of the same allele. So how do we set up an inheritance pattern question? Well, the first type of inheritance pattern is complete dominance. It's where the big A totally hides the little a. And what we do when we get a problem, such as flamingos, a pink flamingo and a purple flamingo reproduce and have offspring, and we know that the purple allele is recessive, and we have two individuals that are homozygous, so big P, little p, we can set up a Punnett square this way. The first is we're going to put the parent phenotypes and genotypes in a table that looks like this. Parent 1, parent 2, big P codes for pink, genotype, phenotype. Little p, genotype, phenotype. We're then going to make a table where we segregate those alleles as if they've done meiosis. So we have one big P copy, one big P copy, one little p copy, one little p copy. And then we just do multiplication. Big P, little p, and I believe that means 100% of the offspring would be pink and be heterozygous, big P, little p. So there's another problem that I'd like you to do, looking at two flamingos that have 7 eggs, 5 are pink, 2 are purple. What would be the phenotypes and genotypes of the parents? Let's talk about codominance. In this inheritance pattern, there are distinct phenotypes for homozygous dominant and recessive individuals. However, heterozygous show both traits simultaneously. I don't know why this is copied, but there we go. In human blood types, we have type B and we have type A bloods, which make very different antigens or proteins on the outside of your red blood cells. This is why you can't get type B blood if you're type A, or vice versa. However, there is a type AB blood that shows both proteins at the same time. Alternatively, you can be type O, where you show no proteins whatsoever. The alleles that code for these are in your packet, but little I codes for type O, big A codes for type A, type B is B, and AB is AB. So the question is, two humans reproduce and they have an offspring with type A blood, type B blood, and type AB blood. What are the parents' genotypes and phenotypes? What are the children's? So to do this, there's two options. Both parents could be type AB. If both parents are type AB blood, they can have an AA child or a type A blood. They could have two possible children. These are possibilities that are type AB. And they could have one child or one possibility that's type BB. An important thing to note is that these squares here represent possibilities or probabilities. They had 3 kids. We're showing 4 possible outcomes here. Alternatively, the parents could have been type A and type B with a recessive I allele, which codes for type O blood. So they would be type A and type B and be heterozygous. That means that they could have a type AB person, a type B person, a type A person, and a type O person, because the little I does not code for a protein, and the type A is dominant and the type B is dominant over the I allele. Incomplete dominance is when the distinct phenotype for the heterozygous individuals are a mixture. So we have straight hair, we have curly hair, Wavy hair is somewhere in the middle. So codominant is in between. Two individuals have, so the question is, in human, curly hair is dominant, straight hair is recessive, wavy hair is heterozygous. What would be the expected phenotype and genotype of offspring from one straight and one wavy-haired person? So we're going to do big C, little c for wavy, little c for straight, and we get 50% of their kids would have a wavy hair, 50% of their kids would have straight hair. And again, little c, big C, little c, big C, little c. Oof. Now polygenic traits. Polygenic traits are when you have multiple letters that code for an overall trait. And a lot of proteins use this because they need lots of different parts to build their overall protein. So red blood cells have 4 genes because they need 4 proteins to come together to make a red blood cell. Most of the polygenic traits are distributed right near the heterozygous middle, so half dominant, half recessive, and it creates a bell curve. And that is because the most possibilities for genotypes that are distinct exist when it's 30% or 50% dominant, 50% recessive. There's really only one option to be completely dominant or completely recessive. And as we look at things like skin color, we can see proportions change and shift as people go to different parts of the world. So people that have all recessive alleles are probably up in the north, and people that are really dark are towards the equator, and then a lot of the people are somewhere in between. So the question is, what would be the phenotypic expression of 2 individuals with these genotypes? Big A, big B, little b, big C, big A, little a, big B, big C, little c. So these have 4 to 2 in terms of their dominant to recessive alleles. So they have moderately dark skin. The question is, could they have a very pale skinned child, a 2 or a 1? Let's do the math and see if we can do this. Whoops. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put all of the different options for an A, a B, and a C in your allele table. So every gamete that a parent one would make would be big A. They could have either big B or little b, big C or little c. Same here, big A or little a, all big B, big C or little c. So that means when I make my table, these are my options. I could be big A, big B, big C, boom, boom, boom. I could be big A, little b, big C, whoops, boom, boom, boom. I could be big A, big B, little c, or I could be big A, little b, little c. So again, I'm just looking at the different possibilities of combining an A, a B, and a C. And the same thing is true with parent 2. Big A, big B, big C, that's a possibility. Little a, big B, big C, that's another possibility. Big A, big B, little c, that's another possibility. And then little a, big B, little c. Boom, boom, boom. An easy way to do this for combinations is you do 2 times 1 times 2 equals 4. You have 4 possibilities when you think about 2 different A's, 1 different B, 2 different C's. The same thing is true over here. 1 times 2 times 2. 4 different possibilities. In my table, I've done 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, which is the number of dominant alleles in the gamete. And then I do a little trick. I just add the 2 numbers together. So this individual would have 6 dominant alleles. This individual would have 5, 4. So a couple things to note. A, the most common outcome is 4. So there's the highest probability that these 2 parents have kids that look exactly like them when it comes to skin color. There is a small chance that their child is darker, or a moderate chance that they're marginally darker or marginally lighter. There's a 1/16th chance that their child appears much lighter than them because they inherit most of the recessive alleles that parents have. And then the last trait that we have to talk about is epistasis. Epistasis is when the combination of one gene and its phenotype is impacted by the combination of another gene. So basically 2 genes with 2 different allele combinations interact with each other to make an overall trait. I like to think of this as milk and coffee. You can get different types of coffee, you can get different types of milk, and when you put those two things together, you get a very unique drink, for those of you who like coffee. So let's talk about hair color. If you have a big A gene, you're going to generally code for dark pigmentation. If you are recessive, little a, you're going to code for lighter genes, i.e. blonde hair. So big A and little a is a trait that shows incomplete dominance. So big A is always going to be really dark. Big A, little a is going to be kind of brown. And then little a is going to be for brownish. Then we have the gene B. Gene B codes for the presence of a red, or little b is the absence of the pigmentation. This also shows incomplete dominance. So you need to be big B to have red hair. If you are big B, little b, you will not make enough of that red pigmentation. Red hair is only visible, big B, if the genotype is little a. So we need to be little a, big B to show red hair. You have to be homozygous recessive for the A gene to be homozygous dominant to show red hair. Big A, big B is going to be black. Little b is blonde. The question is, we have 3 siblings that have a red hair, brown hair, and dirty blonde hair. Red hair, little a, big B, whoops. Brown hair, big A, big B, and then finally, dirty blonde, little a, big B, little b. What are their parents? So to do this, I always set up the genotype offspring table first. And I put in the genotypes that I know I'm getting from my parents. What are the kids that I'm getting? I know that I'm getting a brown, I'm getting a red, and a dirty blonde. Note that I'm putting these in the exact same position that we see here. Brown, red, and dirty blonde. That's important because it will allow you to start working backwards. So for example, these 2 rows, or these 2 individuals, red and brown hair, have the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Row, which means that they must share 2 letters or 2 alleles from mom or dad. So we have a little a, a big B, a little b. So I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to mark it with little red. Also note that I can use that little red and that little a and that big B to code for the dirty blonde. If I can do that, because again, these are 2 possibilities, that then means that this would be a, little b, which I can put up there. I can use big A, little b as another option here, big A, little b, which means that I could be big A or little a, big B for here. Let me explain that again. I did not do a good job with that. I can do, I'm looking for shared alleles in this row. I see little a, big B, so I put that here. I can use that also here to help explain dirty blonde, since this gene could be passed on to any of these 3 kids. I see big A, little b as the letter that's missing for my first child to have brown hair. I can use that same big A. Whoops, that should not be there. Notice that that's a, big B, little b. I need to adjust that. What am I doing? It's a Friday morning. There we go. That's better. And then I can explain dirty blonde. And then I can use that little a and a big B to explain red hair. What that means is parent 2 is almost certainly going to be big A, big B, little b, brown. And notice they're heterozygous for both alleles. Then the only thing that's required for parent 1 is the little a, big B allele. So they could be medium brown, brown, or dirty blonde because the other 2 letters don't matter at all. This is showing you that when your 2 parents are generally heterozygous for traits, the world is your oyster when it comes to getting lots of traits. So if you're big A, big B, little b, by big A, big B, little b, any of these traits are theoretically possible, although it's going to take a lot of luck to become blonde. As always, if you have questions about these, come see me in class. I hope you have a good weekend or Friday.